Okay, so it didn't go very well the first time. I got the Game Boy stripped, I got it cleaned, I'd got the back of the screen peeled off in trying to remove all of the sticky stuff from behind the screen. What I did was break the connection to it. See you later buttons. Let's pick them up in a minute. But on the back of here I put so much pressure on, and if you can see, I have actually torn the ribbon cable for the screen away from the PCB. I had a small try, focus it in, I had a bit of a try at resoldering it and made a complete and utter mess of it, but got a lovely clean screen. Yeah, Game Boy don't work, so that's not trash, so we'll get rid of this. Instead, let's get this Game Boy out of the way. I've decided to completely do away with the screen, and I've purchased a replacement LCD screen, which I've been informed should plug straight in, nice and easy, in place of the old circuit board. I'll just set that down there, and there's a new board. Some of these don't come with the speaker pre-soldered onto the board. I got lucky this time and mine did. So what I'm going to do is just plug this all in, see if the Game Boy will run it, then we can get into putting it into a nice case. The scrap Game Boy that I broke, I managed to buy a damaged one on eBay, so I'm going to have another attempt at fitting the backlight and the chip, but not at the moment. We're just going to use this, do a bit of an upgrade. So let's have a go. Right, so with this particular kit, I've got a screen with the bracket already fitted. It dropped nice and snugly into a new Game Boy case. I very nearly made a mistake and tried to mount the screen onto the two screw holes below, only realising it was off once I put it back together. So in order to get this version of the screen in, what I had to do on the new case was to trim away this piece here, interfered with the screen, and these two screw lugs, which prevent the screen from sitting flat in the case. I was going to experiment with the original case, but I put it all into this clear one, and as you can see, it's all gone in nice and well. What I've got to now do is transfer the rest of the Game Boy out of the back of the shell into the new one. Plug it all in, screw it back up, and this one should be a lot easier than the mod I was attempting the first time. So, transplant time. Right, I'm winging it now, so one would assume this is just a case of removing the screws, taking it out, put it in there. So, let me give that a go. On the back of the case, there was a lug. Come on, just there, there's a raised edge, if we can see. It doesn't want us to see, but there was two raised edges. There was one here, one a bit further up, which I've had to trim off because apparently the case doesn't shut without it, so I thought it might be worth mentioning before I forget. I'm going to take the heat shield off the old case and put it in the new, because my replacement one's got a lovely bit of weather in there. It shouldn't be a problem to anybody except me, who's putting in a transparent case, and I do not want to see rust through the case. So I'm going to swap it for the original heat shield. So the only thing that's going to be left of my original Game Boy is already in the Game Boy. Everything else is brand new. So if you're an Only Fools fan, it's a little bit like Trig's broom. It's all been replaced, but it's still my childhood Game Boy. Except, you know, it's not a broom. Right, I'm going to do the fiddle a bit now and plug the screen in, so just bear with. Right, so I've got the new PCB dropped in. Personally, I'm not a fan of the new speaker they've used. As long as it sounds better, I don't suppose it's going to be a problem, but the size of it may be an issue. I mean, you might need to put something in to wedge it into position, or if it frustrates you as much as it's frustrating me, I'm considering desoldering the original and using it on this. But for the sake of testing it out now, I'm just going to put it together and power it on to make sure the mod's successful. Once it is, we'll clean it up, get it up, assembled properly, and play some games. Right, before we complete this, I want to make sure, obviously we're not all back together yet, it's the pieces, but that it powers on. I'm going to use a real crude ray because I've run out of batteries, so there we go. Right, so I had a few hiccups with the first reassemble. The headphone jack seemed to get in the way of fastening the case properly initially, and then once I got it all together, the new black buttons I bought, which is a great shame, tended to rattle around inside quite a lot. I don't know if they're a little bit, you know, sort of smaller, but they just rattle around in there, and it was a frustrating noise. So unfortunately, if I want black buttons in my Game Boy, I'm going to have to spray them. But here's the finished product. So, original buttons, which is a bit of a shame. They would have looked nice all black and white across there. Pretty cool transparent case all on there. And I finished it off once I put the new screen in. As you can see, my fan in that. With a toughened glass front, because the plastic ones are so bad. So, let's have a quick blast. Everybody's favourite classic Super Mario Land. See what result we get when we fire this up. I did change the power button to the black one. That fits okay, which is cool. On and off, lovely. Don't have any batteries, so without breaking the joint, plug the power adapter in. Oh, look at that, new lease of life. Pretty much dead central. We're using the bracket. The new speaker doesn't sound too bad. Oh my word, Super Mario Land with no ghosting. I'm going to be able to tell what the whole game looks like now. Okay, there's settings on the side. Your contrast wheel, which is part of the new PCB, becomes the brightness wheel. You can roll up and down to save yourself a bit of battery. But if you press the button in, the pretty cool feature, you can actually cycle through so many different colour palettes. Classic green. That's a bit better. Viewing angle on the Game Boy is not great when using a mobile phone to film it. But there you go. So, because everybody always plays Super Mario Land, I'm going to test it out of a childhood favourite of mine. It's not my favourite version of, but definitely worth having a blast. So let's zoom in and realise that my cartridge is Bob. So let's clean that. Clean result. Okay. Can we get a good not a bad version. The music was god awful for this. Turn the brightness down a bit, so that's not an issue. There you go. It's still as responsive as the original Game Boy was, with more colourful screen. I'm relatively happy with this mod. It's all gone together pretty seamlessly in the end. Thanks to me last week try another mod. I'm breaking this. So unfortunately, bye old piece of Game Boy. Except for possibly you, which I will reuse. The rest of it, no. That's it. Bin, mate. It's been fun. I'll finish this all up once I get the new backlight. Oh, sorry, once I get my new Game Boy off eBay. £20 bin fodder, and give another go at fitting the backlight to the original screen. I mean, I've already got the stuff. I've got a Game Boy cheap, so we might as well finish that if we can without breaking another one. What I'm going to do now is attempt to repair some eBay junk and fit this buy mod that I bodged up last time with a nice cheap Game Boy I got online. You can see it's been glued back on the front. I've got the old case from my original there, so I'm going to transplant it in. But before I do anything, I'm going to clean it up a bit on the inside, get the contacts all working again, the batteries, because you have to sort of fiddle them around to get it to come on, and then hopefully not wreck another Game Boy trying to do this mod. So let's pop it open and see what we've got. Right, I don't know if you can quite see this, but what I've had to do, let's zoom in a little bit, is lift 2 pins away from the cartridge slot, 6 and 7, in order to slide the chip underneath. Just hope I haven't caused too much damage. I might the plastic a bit around the cartridge slot, but I think all the other pins and connections are fine. So I'm going to try and slip the chip in and solder it on, and fingers crossed the Game Boy will be fine. Okay, so I ended up struggling getting this Bivert chip in, mainly down to my poor ability of soldering, me getting in the way of the camera and me knocking the camera over. So I didn't catch much of that, but I can show you the finished product. So I've got the Bivert chip in. This, again, the soldering job, look at this. It's a beauty, that one is. It's not great. But that's my novice ability. I mean, I managed to lift the 2 pins, 6 and 7, and get those on. It's a bit of a mess, but it's on, and it works. Then, obviously, your cable, I think, is to earth it to the Game Boy, which I've just put on there and fed down the back to keep it hidden. The screen is in. I can't remember if I've already done this, but the screen is in. The wiring's made tidy, all hidden under there and insulated and screwed on. It's not the best Game Boy screen in the world. I've got a few bubbles in the back because I didn't realise that the screen filter was adhesive, so I caught a few bits of dust when I slid it in. Unavoidable. And there's a few dead lines on the screen as well, but again, this is just to see if I can do it. It's been on a budget. It was a cheap junk Game Boy and a few bits that I got cheap on eBay, so just a bit of fun. So we're going to put it together and see what we've got, see if I've managed to do this all right. If I haven't, then you know the next Game Boy is going to be the one. I love this one on the back. Here, look. There's a screw hole, and it tells you not to put a screw in it. I mean, why put the screw hole there in the first place? That's just brilliant. Don't screw this hole. We have a problem. I think I flicked a bit of solder off. Well, back to the soldering. Yeah, so I did inadvertently break a bit of solder off when I was putting it back together. I heard it snap. So I had to redo the 2 pins, which was another sort of 40 minutes of fiddling around. The problem is I have a rather large tip on the soldering iron, and it's not very good. In fact, I'm not going to blame the tools because my skill's not great either. Right, so yeah, putting it together, I snapped a bit of solder off one of the pins, which made the screen go weird. And then I tried to fix it, and I must have crossed both the pins because there was only 2 shades on the screen. The game looked ridiculous. So 40 minutes later, I'm not proud of it. I probably burnt it out on the PCB, but it's on. So let's get the last few screws in. Well, I've got rid of the blobs down the screen. It turns out there's a bit of moisture in between the layers of the screen, and I just ran a cigarette paper through it and it seemed to pick everything up and it was fine. The only thing I can't do with this Game Boy is fix the horizontal lines. For some reason it just, I didn't do it because you could potentially burn the ribbon cable out, and I've already bricked one Game Boy screen in the process to try and do this mod, which is when I decided to upgrade that Game Boy instead of screen modding. And I put that one. Ha! Look at that! That's so good to show off. There you go. I did this and it doesn't work. Right. Batman, we don't want to play you. We'll switch over to Kirby. So all in all, in order to do one Game Boy, I've ended up doing 2. Completely different versions. So we have that one with the, what we call the screen, which is arguably my favourite because the screen replacement just does look that good. Or the backlit biverted isn't too bad. Isn't too bad at all. Just turn this one down a bit. I mean, the contrast is so much better. Like, infinitely better. Just unfortunate about the few lines on the screen, I guess. But as a first go, it's not bad. I might try this with another one. I've got a Game Boy Pocket and a Game Boy Color sat around somewhere that we could play with at some point. But all in all, I am very impressed with what I've managed to do with my sort of limited abilities, and I look forward to me trying another one again in the future, because this is a lot of fun and I think I could really get into messing about with vintage consoles. Thank you for watching. I hope this was semi-decent for you. I'm not too great at this, but well, you know, giving it a shot. Thank you very much for watching.